For everything we were worried about, all the bye weeks, all the injuries, week 7 kind of went well. I think there were great fantasy performances. There were certainly some duds, but I think the wildest thing I saw yesterday was Taylor Swift literally yelled in a baby's face. Let's talk about it. Good morning. What is up? Welcome to Monday's Hangxiety. This is Club Fantasy's weekly recap show. We're going to look back at yesterday and a little bit of Thursday's action and tell you when it is time to panic and when it is time to chill the fuck out. I am your host, Ryan Weisse. With me, as always, tired. I was going to say as always, but that is just not the case this year. But very tired today, Joshua Hudson, having nothing to do with your Philadelphia Eagles.
I know, right? Although they did have the late game, so there's that. But no, great performance. I was happy with how the night ended, but man, this weekend was one from hell, let me tell you.
Yeah, speaking of we're not going to dive into it because it's coming up, Caesar, so stay tuned. I'm going to keep your comments starred. I have thoughts. But yeah, Josh had a actual work weekend of hell, but from fantasy football standpoint, Josh, I mean, there were obviously some weird games. I think it went well yesterday.
No, it really did. I mean, National Tight End Day. Tight ends came to play. We've gone back and forth on this, like the elite tight ends, right? Man, this is the year that we should have just faded them all except Travis Kelce, blah, blah, blah. A couple weeks ago, all the elite tight ends went off. Tight ends 1, 2, and 3 this week. Travis Kelce, Darren Waller, Mark Andrews. We scripted it, baby.
And Hockenson and Kittle are going tonight, so this could
exactly. So I think Kittle's probably a little upset that he didn't get to play on actual National Tight End Day because every single year he always finds a way to do well on this particular.
Well, and I feel like he's been like the spearhead of this whole thing. I think he was one of the major starting points of Tight End U, and so he's probably the reason National Tight End Day exists.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick look back at the scores in case you guys missed anything. Back on Thursday, Jaguars survived the Saints 31-24. Falcons survived the Buccaneers on the road 16-13. Bears put it to the Raiders, and I was watching a Football Night in America. They pointed out that the Raiders were second place in their division and had a chance to be above 500. The Bears were the Bears starting a Division II rookie quarterback, and yet the Bears just thumped the Raiders 30-12. And I don't think there's any argument. The best game of the day, the Cleveland Browns beat the Indianapolis Colts 39-38. We're going to talk about that game a little bit more later.
If Myles Garrett doesn't win NFL Defensive Player of the Year, it is a fucking crime.
If the Browns make the playoffs, is he not the MVP?
Shit, right? Because it won't be because of the quarterback. That's for sure.
He is playing better than we've seen. I mean, he's putting up Aaron Donald-esque, like, great season numbers and just his disrupting
that blocked,
of the game.
Extra point or
where he
or whatever,
jumped over the guy and never touched him.
Thing of beauty.
Insane. And maybe the worst game of the week, the Giants win 14-7 over the Washington Commanders. The Detroit Lions forgot to show up in Baltimore 38-6 there for the Ravens. Crazy game. Patriots take down the Bills at home 29-25. Seahawks handle business against the Cardinals. Not as pretty as many of us would have liked, 20-10. Steelers surprised the Rams in Los Angeles. Joe Zolo pointed out that this was a home game for the Steelers, and they won 24-17. Chiefs, this game was not as close as the final score would lead you to believe, 31-17 over the Chargers. Broncos pull it out against the Packers. Again, another game that we didn't quite expect to go that way, 19-17. And we couldn't have scripted this better. I love when the Eagles are the Sunday night game. I'll tell you the score. Josh will talk to you about the game, and up with the birds. Philadelphia handles the business against the greatest show on turf, 31-17 over the Dolphins. Josh, get into it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Honestly, this was the most complete game that the Eagles have played this year. It was fantastic to watch. I mean, the defense, they balled out. They only had the one turnover, the interception Darius Slay picked off in the fourth quarter, which honestly, that really shut down the momentum for the Dolphins. They were within a touchdown at that point. They were driving. It was an interception in the red zone. Slay just bit on the pass to Raheem Mostert, leaving his guy to pick it off. I mean, just I don't know what else you can say about that defense this week. I mean, How crazy is it when you say a guy catches 11 balls and yet you shut him down?
Yeah.
11 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. If that's how you're going to shut down Tyreek Hill, that's how you shut down Tyreek Hill. 8 yards per catch for a guy that's averaging what feels like 30 per catch. Like they handled business there. Waddle was in and out of the game. I believe he was evaluated for a concussion. Or was a back injury, one of those two. He had 6 catches for 63 yards, I believe. But they absolutely manhandled this running game, which hardly surprising considering they were the second best run defense heading into this weekend's game. But when you look at the numbers on where they're stopping the run game, it is between the tackles. Miami Dolphins excel on the edges, and that's where the Eagles are susceptible to the run. They averaged heading into this game about 4.9 yards per carry on average on the edges, and absolutely swallowed up Raheem Mostert. But the one thing that I truly loved about this game, 4 more sacks, Josh Sweat with 2 of them. They allowed only 244 total yards to the number 1 offense in the NFL. They held the Dolphins to season lows in points, first downs, total yards, passing yards, rushing yards, and time of possession.
Yeah.
That is how you play defense in the NFL. And it really goes to show Miami's doing what Miami is doing against not so great teams. Their 2 losses have been to really good teams.
Yep.
Of course, I say that, and then the Bills found a way to lose to the freaking Patriots.
The Bills are the definition of playing down to their competition right now. So.
I will say, like, AJ Brown, hats off. 5 straight games over 125 receiving yards, ties the NFL record set by Calvin Johnson. There's a good chance against the Commanders, AJ Brown might go for 6 and set the record because he has been on fire, and the Commanders get absolutely lit up by opposing wide receivers. Hurts definitely toughed this out. Knee brace in the second half, definitely something to watch. Don't love that, but, it's a part of the game, unfortunately. I will say the biggest concerning thing, though, it's the turnovers.
Yes, it is.
Another interception. I don't love that throw. I understand it was a tipped pass, but he literally threw that with a guy, like, right up in his face, and it felt kind of like, dude, what are we doing here? But again, if you continue to turn the ball over at the rate that he is doing it, you're not going to get back to the Super Bowl, let alone win it. So he's got to fix these issues that are cursing him right now. He's kind of getting into this, like, Josh Allen territory where it's like, I'm so good that if I turn the ball over, it's okay. I can make up for it. Yeah, you can, but sometimes you can't, as witnessed last week with the 3 turnovers by him, 4 by the team, and they couldn't pull it out.
I was just going to say, it comes down to you're putting a lot of pressure on your defense that isn't exactly ready to take all that pressure yet. So
correct. Yeah, but the defense played well. Secondary still banged up. Hats off Eli Ricks, though. He looked pretty solid filling in spot duty. Loved seeing him with the pass defense on Tyreek Hill late in the game, too. That was nice.
Yeah, it was a good win.
Hats off. Eagles did well. So
yeah. Josh touched on it, the unnecessary shot of Ruppelmans. Let's talk about these injuries. I got to be honest, my injury source is kind of lacking. I bounced between NFL.com, CBS. I felt this was really small. They didn't cover the Jalen Hurts injury. They didn't cover the Waddle injury. So maybe they just missed the Sunday night game, and that's what I'm dealing with. My personal favorite was Bijan Robinson not feeling all that great. And that's a direct quote from Arthur Smith. What? Like, when did this happen? How does this lead to 0 carries of 1 carry, I guess, by the end of the game? What? Very, very problematic. DeShaun Watson left with a possible concussion, immediately passed concussion protocol, and the Browns stuck with PJ Walker and won the game. That's interesting, with the $245 million guarantees that are going into Deshaun Watson. I have some thoughts on that game as well. Luke Musgrave hurt his ankle because I picked him as stream of the week. This is my fault. He was later seen in a walking boot.
Ryan.
Yep. Gerald Everett injured his quad. Saquon Barkley hyperextended his elbow. Looked like a dislocated shoulder the way he was holding his arm at his side. However, he said he's going to be okay, which is good for the Giants because Eric Gray and Gary Brightwell, their 2 backup running backs behind Matt Breida, both left this game injured. And then, as Josh alluded to, Jalen Hurts, seen in a knee brace in the second half of the game. There were apparently quotes. Someone caught up with him after the game. He said it's a pre-existing knee injury. So this is something he's already been dealing with, not necessarily something that happened in the game. It just started to bother him a little bit more in the game. But as Josh mentioned,
there was a scramble that I saw. He kind of pulled up limp, and I'm like, oh, crap, what just happened? But, like I said, if it's like you said, if it's a pre-existing thing, then, it makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah, so he's just taking care of himself. I'm not all that worried there. Definitely not what you want to see, plain and simple. Let's get to the shot of espresso, Josh. These are the quality performances that got the juices flowing. You've already talked about tight end day. Let's get into it.
Yeah, I mean, it's Travis Kelce to the moon, baby. Like 13 more targets, 12 catches, 179 yards, and a touchdown. Why can't defenses figure out how to stop Travis Kelce? It's not like the guy runs a 4.2 40.
My favorite is they figure it out in the second half because he had, I think, $112 and a touchdown at halftime. So they do figure out a way to slow him down, but it's like, what are you finding out at halftime that
Rush
you didn't
3,
know?
Drop 8, put all 8 on Travis Kelce. It's not hard. Like, seriously.
Now, I want to get into my pregame comment, my pre-show comment, because I always just try to make jokes. But if you guys did not watch the clip of Isaiah Pacheco's touchdown, Taylor Swift turns to Brittany Mahomes and screams in her baby's face. And it is the funniest fucking thing to me. I've watched it 100 times this morning. She looks at Brittany, and then she looks down at this baby and just goes, "Oh my God," right in this baby. And Brittany looks so pissed to where the whole world was waiting for Taylor to get annoyed with Brittany Mahomes. I think Brittany Mahomes might be done with Taylor Swift at this point, and it is.
I don't know. They had like choreographed handshakes. And in the press box too.
They're best friends, and it's fine. But this girl yelled in a baby's face, and it is the funniest thing to me. If you go look for it, you can. If you just go to, I typed in like Week 7 highlights and watch the NFL.com Week 7 highlights. It's like 2/3 of the way through. Funniest shit on the entire planet. She screams in a baby's face. I love it.
I mean, I love that she's getting animated and, enjoying it. Like,
she is excited every time the Chiefs do anything. And I'm glad to see it's not just when Kelce does something. This was Isaiah Pacheco sealing the game at the end of the game. Fuck that baby. This show is not that.
Oh my God!
You're rich. You don't need those eardrums later in life.
Oh man! But yeah, I'll shout out to Kelce's quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. Him and Lamar Jackson, both QBs 1 and 2 on the week, both totaled 4 touchdowns apiece. Sticking on Lamar Jackson here, you can kind of see he's really hitting a groove in this offense. There was a moment, and I saw them talk about it on Good Morning Football this morning, where it was the touchdown pass to Nelson Aguilar.
I knew you were going to
bring that play up. The pocket just started to collapse.
Yep.
And Lamar Jackson from probably even last year, but 2-3 years ago, would have just taken off running. Instead, he just maneuvered around, let his wide receivers and pass catchers find the open zones, open holes in the zone, and hit Aguilar for the touchdown. This is growth as a passer. 357 passing yards and 3 touchdowns for Lamar on the day. I mean, he's averaging 230 passing yards a game and 51.8 rushing yards per game. Touchdowns aren't quite there. He has 13 total on the season, 8 passing touchdowns, 5 rushing, but they're starting to. He's starting to find a groove, I think, as this offense sort of evolves into more of like a traditional Todd Monken type offense. But I mean, we expect this kind of stuff from Patrick Mahomes. This is literally just what he does. I mean, 462 and 4 touchdowns, I think, on the day.
Not to mention against the Chargers.
He lights up the Chargers, and the Chargers just fucking suck. Yeah. But like Lamar going against Detroit has played extremely well on defense.
And that pass rush made that pass rush look silly.
Yeah. This is like he turned the Lions into like baby Simba. Straight up. Like they looked like frauds in this game. Like absolute frauds. So hats off to Lamar, hats off to the Ravens. They brought it. And my final one I'll hit with Deonta Foreman. We talked about, dude, this guy just literally does this all the time. Why was he a healthy scratch?
I was just going to say, your best note is your first note. What the hell were the Bears doing? Because Khalil Herbert and Roschon Johnson ain't that good. They aren't as good as what we saw from Deontay.
That's the thing. They're good. They're not. They don't have this ceiling.
Yep.
Like, I swear, every time we talk about D'Onta Foreman, it's because he has a 3 fucking touchdown game.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I get it. The Raiders suck. This is a problem. But, like, I don't get it. Why was he a continued healthy scratch? I understand how good a pass catcher and a pass blocker that Roschon is, especially as a rookie. D'Onta Foreman had a receiving touchdown in this game, too.
We got to talk about how D'Onta Foreman right now is the one back to return from that Achilles injury.
Yeah. And also, but look how long it's taken. This is his 7th NFL team.
Yep. But also, D'Onta Foreman went to Tennessee. This motherfucker learned from Derrick Henry, and he changed his game when he left the Tennessee Titans. He is a different runner. He is more physical. He is not worried about injury. I think it's one of those things where, and I'm using this term very hypothetically, his life flashed before his eyes, and he's just like, fuck it. I'm just going to go out here and punish the people who want to tackle
I think he may end up having a career similar to, like, Latavius Murray.
Yeah.
Not like a ton of work early in his career, but then just kind of like found a groove as kind of like a reliable back that, I mean, if he continues to age okay, like Murray's still doing it at 33, I think. And that's just like, may as well be an AARP card for a running back. Like, we could see the same thing happen with D'Onta Foreman, who I believe is 28, 27, 28, maybe something like that. Like, he's going to kind of have that nomadic career, a year here, a year there. Maybe he sticks on with the team, but as long as he just kind of like does what he needs to do when his number is called, teams will keep picking him up.
He is 27. He'll be 28 at the beginning of next season. So.
Okay. So, yeah, but I mean, considering the Achilles injury, that basically, aged him up 10 years. So,
but it's interesting. Well, it's interesting you bring up Latavius Murray. It's almost like we're seeing this weird shift in the NFL where big backs are having trouble getting on the field early. Now, Latavius is 6'3", 230, whereas Foreman is 6 foot 230. But big backs are having trouble getting on the field early, and that's preserving them for later in their careers. And now people are like, well, I'll bring him in as my third back, and look, it's working out for them.
And it's like, like I said, when their number is called, they're performing. So, and Murray's kind of taken over for Damian Harris, which, unfortunate injury aside, really wasn't doing much before that anyway. And Murray was kind of taking over that number 2 role there in Buffalo. But my honorable mention, we give this guy a whole bunch of shit all the time. Still the GOAT coach, Bill Belichick, got his 300th win and got it in fashion. 12 seconds left, Mac Jones to Mike Gesicki for the go-ahead touchdown. And typical Bill Belichick fashion in the press conference. So, we still got a lot of things to clean up. Looking forward to next week, blah, blah, blah. And thank you. Like, seriously, show some level of emotion, dude. Like, you are in a category with only 2 other head coaches in George Halas and Don Shula. It's okay to enjoy some wins sometimes, It's okay to.
Especially this season, man.
Because this season's been rough.
You can't convince me you were positive you were getting that 300th win, brother.
Right?
I'm going to keep going with the Patriots. My performance that got the juices flowing to nobody's surprise was seeing Rhamondre Stevenson catch 6 balls. This is why we drafted him. We want to see this man in the receiving game. Out-targeted Zeke 6-1. Unfortunately, still 2 fewer carries than Ezekiel Elliott, and also got a touchdown vultured. This is probably a sell opportunity for Rhamondre Stevenson. Both of these backs are averaging below 4 yards per carry. This is still not a good offense. So it's just very, very fluky game that went up against the Bills, and you got to make sure you take advantage of that. This is going to be a sell opportunity when it comes to fantasy football. I do want to get Joel's comment up here because we have been talking about this forever. Brandon Staley, Matt LaFleur, who gets fired first? You can't fire LaFleur right now, right? Like, you made your choice of who you're keeping. It's got to be Staley. In my opinion, Staley is continually disappointed. And I think Joe actually said this on Wednesday. We are wasting Justin Herbert. We are wasting the twilight years of Keenan Allen. We are wasting this rookie. Joel does not agree with me that you can't fire LaFleur. I just feel like you drew your line in the sand when you chose Jordan Love. You chose Matt LaFleur.
Well, but that's the problem, though, right? If Jordan Love doesn't show anything, and right now he hasn't, you backed the wrong horse. I mean, that's basically what it is. You decided that the head coach was worth more than the legacy at quarterback. So, yeah, if they don't have a winning record this year, they could very easily say, you know what, LaFleur? Those 3 straight 13-win seasons, that was Rodgers, buddy. That wasn't you.
And I'll give you that. Okay, so we're saying who's getting fired first. So I guess I need to back off my comment a little bit. Because as Joel pointed out, you're also wasting Jordan Love's development at this point. I'll go back to my original comment is maybe I shouldn't say you can't fire Matt LaFleur, but I think he gets the season. I don't think you can keep Brandon Staley throughout the season. I think you're sending the wrong message to Justin Herbert if you keep Brandon Staley for this entire season.
I mean, and I understand the logic behind nothing tends to go well when you fire a head coach in the middle of the season. Not every, interim head coach is going to be like the one the Raiders brought in when they fired John Gruden.
Yeah.
Bisaccia, I believe his last name is. Like, they ended up sneaking into the playoffs. But, you fire Staley, you're going to maybe Kellen Moore gets the nod and you kind of get to see, is he that hot head coaching candidate that everybody thought that he would be? But, right now, you're a half game behind the fucking Raiders in your division.
And you should be
Raiders
a game and a half behind. The Raiders are morons.
Yeah, I just don't. This is just bad football. It's bad coaching. And you literally just paid your quarterback to be one of the highest paid players in the NFL. And you're letting him down. That's not you're supposed to be a defensive guy. Your defense sucks.
And we salivated at the talent they put on that defense. Khalil Mack, J.C. Jackson. They already had Derwin James. We thought this defense was going to be so good. Joey Bosa, who has aged like fine milk. I don't know what's going on with him. He is so fallen off.
And they just paid him an extension too.
Yeah. I don't understand it. He is a detriment to the entire team. Whereas in Joel's defense, Joel, you would be able to answer this better than me. Oh, Joel. Bisaccia is on Green Bay's staff.
Hey, there you go.
Fire him.
That's why you fire Matt LaFleur right there.
Nah, that's a really good point. In Joel's defense, is LaFleur the play caller? Is this something where maybe you need to take duties away from him? That would be interesting for me to know.
But that's the other thing too, is the moment that, a GM or something steps in and says, you know what, you need to give up play calling. It's already a recipe for disaster.
Sure.
Yeah,
my
biggest issue with the Packers right now, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is LaFleur's system of I need to go through and I got to spread the ball around. I got to get everybody involved and this and that. Instead of saying, you know what, this guy is my best player. Let's just feed him the fucking football.
Yep.
Every other really good team outside of, and even in a certain defense, Travis Kelce is that for the Chiefs, but the Chiefs still spread the ball around a lot. But every team has a go-to.
Yeah.
The Packers do not have a go-to weapon, or at least one they're willing to use.
I was going to say, is it an issue that Christian Watson isn't as good as we think he is, or is it an issue that he's not being used?
Oh, I'm not even talking about Christian Watkins. I'm talking about Christian
Aaron
Watson.
Jones.
I'm talking about Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Motherfucker had 11 touches. 11.
Out-touched by A.J. Dillon.
We'll talk about later.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's keep moving. Morning mimosas. It's that tingly feeling that something good is on the horizon. Josh, I am very, very surprised at your first name here. Go for it.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you kind of have to.
I agree.
You got to give the guys respect, especially because if you tune into us on Wednesdays, all you hear is one of our co-hosts telling the world that he wouldn't start him. Well, the motherfucker Alvin Kamara is the running back 3 in PPR points per game, but doesn't run well between the tackles.
I was going to say, Joe.
In 4 fucking games, Joe's leads all running backs in catches.
Joe is not going to give up his priors ever. Plain and simple.
Like the most stubborn man I've ever met in my life. Seriously. 12 more catches on Thursday night. Stop thinking that this just isn't going to work. He is that guy in New Orleans. Right now, he's the only weapon that you can trust, and I'm including Chris Olave in that equation. Because Olave ends up with 15 targets and can't even catch half the damn balls.
Yep.
Like
I still contend it's a quarterback problem, but
100% it's a quarterback problem. I'm not saying it's not, which is why I'm fine taking the low ADOT route of just continue to start Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. Let the haters out there who are bitching about his 33 yards total receiving.
But you know what, though? Even in standard scoring, he's the running back 10.
Yep.
Like,
minus 3 games, people. Minus 3 games.
Exactly. Minus 3 games. Like, stop sleeping on Alvin Kamara. Like, just keep it to set it and forget it. Like, that's what that is. The Kendre Miller hype train is officially on hold unless Jamal Williams ends up getting hurt again.
Yeah.
And they'll use Kendre Miller, but he is a firm 3rd in this backfield hierarchy between Kamara and Williams right now. So, but speaking of Kansas City pass catchers, the official pass catcher 2 in this offense.
I hope you've been reading my Pick 'em Up article.
Rashee Rice is that dude. He is the guy. Had another touchdown this week, 6 targets, 5 catches, 60 yards. Outshined maybe by MVS, but this is a typical MVS game, right?
Yep.
3 catches, 84 yards, and a touchdown. Won't hear from him again for 4 weeks.
Exactly.
Like that is what this is. So if you don't want to pick up Rashee Rice, I will gladly do so because I feel like he's still available on way too many waiver wires.
Yeah, him. I'm going to go look it up real quick because the other one who caught me off guard, I couldn't work him into the show she did all. Kendrick Bourne is still available in 75% of leagues. What is wrong with people?
I understand because that offense is an eyesore.
Yeah, you want a part of the Kansas City offense.
Yeah, you want a part of the Kansas City offense. In New England, it's like the only time I'm picking him up is, like a bye-apocalypse week like we had in week 7.
Yeah.
But there's no teams on a bye in week 8.
Yep.
Kendrick Bourne isn't going to be started.
52% of leagues availability for Rashee Rice, meaning he will be once again featured in my Pick 'em Up article tomorrow.
Yeah, right?
No, it's ridiculous. I think it's all I wrote about him last week. You want the wide receiver 1 attached to Patrick Mahomes. Go get him.
Right now, that's Rashee Rice. Yep.
Exactly. I'm going to throw out Jalin Hyatt, excuse me. Very impressed with what I've seen out of him over the last 2 weeks. And it hasn't led to immense fantasy success. But if you've listened to our show, Josh, you were a big proponent of his, and you knew it was going to take time. It was going to take time in this shitty offense, first and foremost. The offense isn't getting better anytime soon. I like what I'm seeing from this kid. 4 targets last week, 5 in week 7. He's getting separation, 75 yards on just 2 catches. This was the nature of his game. He was the fastest wide receiver coming out last year, and this is what you want to see from him. And what I really love when you do get to sit down and watch this Giants offense when you're punishing yourself, he and Wan'Dale Robinson actually complement each other very, very well. Wan'Dale Robinson is very shifty. I am a notorious Wan'Dale Robinson hater because he was like 5'8", 140 pounds. I don't know how that's going to succeed in the long term. Right now, he looks pretty damn good as an NFL wide receiver. What I really enjoyed, though, we got to talking about points per target a while back. Jalin Hyatt has the fewest targets on this Giants wide receiver core, yet has the 3rd most fantasy points on the team and most fantasy points per target by far of these wide receivers. So I think we could see something where Jalin Hyatt pops off before this season goes, and he's out there in a ton of leagues. I was able to pick him up in a bunch of leagues just this past week, like best ball leagues and things that I'm in where there's waivers. He is a best ball target like you couldn't believe if you play in a best ball league with waivers.
How crazy is it that this offense actually looks better and more competent with Tyrod Taylor at quarterback over Daniel Jones.
Yeah, we're going to talk about all of that actually in our next category. So let's go ahead and get to Cohen's question here. Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, AJ Brown, Cooper Kupp, Jalen Waddle, Jesus Christ. And the flex is Rhamondre Stevenson or D-Hop. Is there anyone he could trade those two? So he's looking to move Stevenson and Hop to go get a upgrade at flex. And I do think that is the right move in this situation.
Oof. I mean, if you could package both of them,
which I think is the goal.
Yeah, that would be the goal. Let me see. Where's
DeAndre Swift manager might be down.
Swift would definitely be a target. I'd even throw Kenneth Walker into that mix.
Ken Walker could be fun. Alvin Kamara, we just talked about that. That might be a manager who does not believe right now,
or only sees RB16 versus the points per game of RB3.
Exactly. You probably don't need to even trade both to go get Jacoby Myers. My impression is that people do not believe this Jacoby Myers thing is real. I think it is very, very fucking real. And I would start Jacoby Myers over either of those two every single week. And you could probably move one of them to go get Jacoby.
I was going to say, Myers has 5 touchdowns on the season. I believe 5 straight games he scored a touchdown.
And big part of the offense, like targets are there. Obviously, they got Devontae Adams more involved this week, but Jacoby Myers was still, I think, one behind him in targets, something along those lines.
Christian Kirk also.
Yeah.
That would be another one.
And ready to take that offense all the way back over, just like I've been trying to tell people all offseason long that he was not going to disappear. So great question there. And that's exactly the kind of move you're going to make that's going to help you win a championship, is take these two mid flex guys and go attack a team right now. Your best bet is to start at the teams right now that are going to come out of this week with 2 and 3 wins because they still think they have a chance. And those are the teams you want to attack. Find those players on their roster. So that's what I'd be looking to do. Josh, the hangover. And normally, for folks who don't know, I like to give Josh the entire show sheet and I throw 1 or 2 in. The hangover bothered me this week. So I have all the people. So I'm going to let Josh bitch about, this is our biggest head scratcher of the week for those who don't know. I'm going to let Josh bitch about Aaron Jones and I'm going to go in a little bit. So Josh, have fun.
Yeah, I saw you go through and fill everybody in. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give Ryan the stage this week. I just have one gripe, and it is Aaron Jones. Like I mentioned previously, 11 touches for the best player on this offense. I just do not get it. If you want to sit here and tell me he was on a pitch count because of the hamstring, yada, 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 then maybe he should not have come back this week. Plain and simple. Like, I'm tired of these coaches that are like, oh, we're going to put the guy on a snap count because of X, Y, and Z. It is a close game. You need your best players playing all of the fucking snaps to win the goddamn game.
That win.
And they needed that win. You are now 2-4. Right now, Detroit has a stranglehold on the NFC North. You cannot afford to lose games against bad teams. And that is exactly what the Denver Broncos are, especially in a road game. It was a road game, correct? They were in Denver?
In Denver.
Yeah. Like, those are games that you need to win.
Yep.
Now you have set yourself in a deeper hole. I do not get this Aaron Jones usage, and it has been a problem all year outside of, I believe, week 1.
Yeah.
And really, it's been a problem for 2 or 3 years now.
Yep.
That you get these like peak games, and then it's like 5 or 6 fantasy points, which of course goes back to bad usage. Yep. What is this love affair with AJ Dillon? The guy sucks. He's not a great football player. He's not a versatile football player. Give me some level of explanation here, please. Because 11 touches in a game that you need to have makes no fucking sense at all.
Absolutely rough. I'm going to throw Millie's comment up on the screen because it's basically breaking down. He's having the same kind of season I'm having. So the Bijan game, can't catch a break either. His wide receivers don't show up or his tight ends dud. Completely agree. So I'm going to get into my hangovers. So first and foremost, the first one is a me problem. I cannot pick a stream of the week tight end to save my life. This was the second time I've picked Luke Musgrave. This was the second time he got hurt as my stream of the week. And he was on pace for a good game. Had 7 fantasy points in like middle of the second quarter when he went out with this injury. So get better soon. I'm sorry I keep doing this to you. My goodness. But to everyone's point, Millie's point, and to go all the way back to Caesar's point, when the fuck did Bijan Robinson get sick? So it became like this running joke that, like, did he piss the coach off? Was he benched? And then he's not feeling all that great. But like, you're just feeding Cordero Patterson, feeding Tyler Algier in a game that you needed to win. And they pulled the win out. So it is what it is. But regardless, I'm just very shocked that we heard nothing about this going into the game. I will say, I'm using this as a buy opportunity. In every one of my redraft leagues, I will be sending out offers if I did not already have Bijan Robinson. I know as a manager of Bijan Robinson in multiple leagues that they're frustrated. The managers are frustrated right now. So I'm going to use it as a buy because I think better days are to come. I do think he was benched. I don't think this is a sickness thing. I don't know what he did, but I'm hoping this was a lesson learned and he's going to bounce back. Next thing is, what the hell happened with the Bills? They do not look like a good football team. Obviously, they've had their good and their bad, but to lose this past game is a mark against them, and you cannot convince me otherwise. And we talked about this a little bit with Matt LaFleur. I'm starting to wonder if Sean McDermott is doing too much. They lost Brian Daboll last year, replaced him with was it Ken Dorsey? Whoever the hell
QB coach Ken Dorsey, yeah.
Yeah, Ken Dorsey. But then they lost Les Frazier this year. He announced he was stepping away from football, and McDermott took over the defense. And I'm starting to wonder, was this a better team when he was the CEO, head coach, and he had coordinators that were doing things? Because they don't look right, plain and simple. And then, Josh, this was the one I really wanted to get to. You mentioned how the Giants look better with Tyrod Taylor. But my goodness, do the Browns look better with PJ Walker? And do not get what I'm saying twisted here. PJ Walker is not a better quarterback than DeShaun Watson because they both suck, plain and simple. But the Browns are running a much more vanilla offense with PJ Walker, and it fucking works. Stop catering to whatever DeShaun Watson wants to do when he's out there and run this boring vanilla offense with your two running backs who can run, with your quarterback who can run, with throw the ball to Amari Cooper 6,000 times per game if that's what it takes, because this is the offense that works.
Get that ball to David Njoku too, okay? Don't leave none of that.
I mean, he deserves it. He's out here playing as a burn victim, but all in all, it's not great. And this 245, I had a friend on Facebook, I'm from Northeast Ohio, who said, you got to love having a $245 million anchor on your boat, because that is what's happening to this offense right now. It's not good. And then my last gripe is, what is Austin Ekeler's role right now in this offense? We wanted Kellen Moore to come in here and just transform this offense into this like greatest show on turf, to keep using that phrase. He has 44 carries, which is actually a lot. That's 15 carries per game over 3 games. But only 13 targets in 3 games, 2.5 yards per carry since his return, and his only touchdown was in week 1. I'm not in full panic mode, but I'm certainly not on chill the fuck out mode either. Like, I'm legitimately worried about what is Austin Ekeler in this offense right now, Josh.
Yeah, and then Josh Kelly had the big breakaway touchdown run in that game. Like, for whatever reason, Josh Kelly looks better as a running back, just as a complementary piece, because those games that he had to start in place of Austin Ekeler, my God, he looked like he belonged in the XFL. It was bad. It was bad. And now we're just seeing Austin Ekeler be bad and not involved. And this is a guy that is one of the best, if not the best, pass catching running backs in the NFL. And you're not throwing him the football. What are we doing? Make it make sense, please.
Josh, do you want me to save this JSN question for later, or do you?
Oh, no, we can get this one knocked out of the way, because this is an easy one.
Yeah. So Cap for Life says, good morning. Is he going to trade Hendo and JSN for Nico Collins? Yes.
1,000% times yes. Smash accept. Get it over and done with. Get Nico Collins. Darrell Henderson's not going to have a job in 3 weeks, and JSN is a literal flash in the pan because DK Metcalf was ruled out. It's that simple. JSN
is going to pop, like, as an NFL player. Don't worry about it this season. Nico Collins is doing what you want JSN to be doing. And Hendo is well worth the price of admission to go out and get Nico Collins. Without a doubt, you're making that trade. And then Millie Mills says that he picked up Kareem Hunt so that he could start to shop B-Rob. And after last week's game, he feels comfortable. I actually still like Brian Robinson. I don't know that if you get the right return on investment, everybody's tradable. So I'm not against this, but I like Brian Robinson. I like what I'm seeing out of him. So.
I mean, he's a steady RB2. Like that's, little underperforming this week with only, I think it was like 8.9, 8.7 fantasy points, but he did score a touchdown.
Yeah.
So,
cream or sugar, Josh? It's our buy low, sell high category. Cream rises to the top. These are our buy candidates. Sugar falls to the bottom. These are our sell candidates. Go for it, buddy.
Dude, Josh Downs is on fire.
Amazing.
Absolute fire. Continue to light it up again this week.
Hope you read the Pick 'em Up article. Go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, he's just absolutely dominating. The target share is there. The receiving work is there. Everything you want out of a fantasy option. Like, this is a high-end flex with potentially RB1 upside. Like, that's how good he is performing right now. Gardner Minshew has never been afraid to sling the football. Go get his weapons, because this is not a great defense. It's an okay defense. And Gardner Minshew, for as much as we love him, he's going to turn the football over, and he's going to have to play hero ball. Well, what happens when you play hero ball? You got to throw the football. That's going to benefit Michael Pittman. And right now, it is very much benefiting Josh Downs. So 100%.
Minshew loves Josh Downs. You can tell that just watching the game. Getting a little nervous. My phone is getting blown up by family members right now, but I'm going to push through this. Yeah, like I have it next to me, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on here? So when you see me glancing over, I'm trying to see which family member is calling me right now, but we're going to make it through the show. Josh, keep going.
Yeah, so my trade candidate this week might sound a little weird because he hasn't done that much. He's only wide receiver 35 on the season, I believe. I'm going to try to use the fact that he scored a touchdown this week to move Romeo Doubs. Yeah. As we mentioned, this offense is just really not good. Doubs is going to have some pop weeks here and there because he sees the heavier side of the target volume, but tied for a team lead with 5 targets. Not great, Bob.
Not great.
Like 5 targets is not great. It's not going to get it done at all.
It doesn't matter if you're the leading the team with 5 targets.
Yeah, like that does not do it for me. I'm sorry. So try to maybe package him with like an upstart running back, hey, if somebody wants to buy into Darrell Henderson, go for it. As we mentioned previously, like Rhamondre Stevenson, that could be somebody that, you could use this week to maybe move off of him, package Doubs, get a better RB2, something along those lines. Like, again, sell the touchdowns because he has 4 in 6 games this year.
Now, was it Doubs, Josh? I don't know if you caught the highlight. Was it off of Dobbs' hands where Jaden Reed caught that touchdown? Because, man, he could have had 2 this week. I want to say remember. It was. I think it was where there was went off of Dobbs' hands, and I think even his chest, it fell right perfectly into Jaden Reed. So Jaden Reed's I almost put Jaden Reed as my sell candidate. And so when I saw you had Dobbs, I was like, yeah, I'll just put it in there. Sell Green Bay wide receivers.
Yeah, move off of them. Like, maybe somebody's still buying the potential with Christian Watson. I would move off of him too. Like, at this point, there's no synergy with what Matt LaFleur is doing as a play caller. I don't get it. I don't want any part of it.
Yeah, I agree completely. Josh hit on this guy earlier. I'm going to buy Chris Olave if the price is right. He is my cream rising to the top. He's the wide receiver 18 on the season, which is obviously not great, but it's kind of in line with what he was doing last year. He's 8th in targets, and it's a QB problem. Josh and I both agree it's a Derek Carr problem. I want to think Derek Carr is going to get this thing together, at least into the benefit of his wide receiver 1. The lack of touchdowns is the concern. He only has 1 touchdown through 7 games now. So we're hoping to see that correct, and that's a regression to the mean thing. So I'm hoping to see better, but he is very clearly, I wrote in our notes, their best wide receiver, but I want to back off of that a little bit. He's very clearly their wide receiver 1, but man, do I love Rashee Shaheed. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That kid is a baller, and I'm loving every bit of it. And please, take this 18 carry game as an opportunity to sell Zack Moss. If you watch the game, Jonathan Taylor is taking over this backfield, and they're using him a lot as a wide receiver, which means Moss might still line up in the backfield, but they're still going to be throwing the ball, as Josh mentioned, with Gardner Minshew. This ride's ending. We're down to splitting carries 50-50 now over the last 2 weeks, but way more importantly, Moss has only averaged 3 yards per carry in week 6 and 3.2 yards per carry in week 7. He is mid. He is not as good as he's looked, but right now, that season rank makes him look like a top 10 running back. You have got to move him while you can. And man, what a name to throw out here. I'd move him for Drake London if I could. Drake London is starting much like before Josh Downs. took over. I don't want to say took over, but stepped up. Michael Pittman was this guy who was averaging 10 targets a game in this like offense. That is Drake London. And my goodness, if this motherfucker could have kept that hand in bounds and kept that ball in his hand, and I understand that's a lot of ifs. How awesome was that flip trying to score a touchdown? If you didn't see it, go check it out.
That was scary too, man.
Yeah,
oh my God.
And they pointed out in the broadcast how you watched his neck and back compress. And I'm like, don't say that. Like, we don't need to get that much into it. I'm all about getting Drake London. Again, this is the fight Josh and I have gotten into recently. As long as you know what you're buying. You're not buying a wide receiver 1. You're barely buying a wide receiver 2. You are buying a
No, you are buying a wide receiver 2. He is a wide receiver 2. He has, based on the upside of touchdown scoring, he has wide receiver 1 upside. This is what I talked about last week. I'm buying in. The target share is there. He's consistently leading this team in targets. Desmond Ridder, for as hot as cold as he is, he's still looking Drake London's way. That is a wide receiver 2 for me in fantasy.
7 targets per game.
Not great. 54 yards. But again, 6 catches on 7 targets. Those are numbers that I'm okay with.
Yep. 7 targets per game and 12 yards per reception. You want 12 to 13 yards per reception is what you want out of your big play wide receivers. And that's what you're getting. And they're going to have to throw the football, plain and simple, especially if Bijan Robinson's not feeling well.
Yeah. I think this is just a down week. I mean, we talk all the time. The Bucs corners are just kind of meh, but they have a really good defensive front. They're going to bring pressure. And with a young quarterback, that's going to rattle him a lot more. So I look at this more so as a blip on the radar for Drake London. But, use this as a buy opportunity if somebody's not feeling it. That's the way I look at it.
I love that. Bryce, first and foremost, welcome to the show. Don't think we've worked with you before, Bryce. Glad to help you out. Hope you're don't even need a Monday miracle tonight. He's thinking about giving up Amari Cooper and Deontay Johnson for CeeDee Lamb. Josh, this one tugs at your heartstrings a bit because I know you kind of like accepted that CeeDee Lamb was a wide receiver 1 in fantasy, and he's kind of played mad this season, but it's been well enough, whereas Deontay Johnson hasn't played enough to even know what to think about him. He did point out that his other wide receivers are Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Adams, Adam Thielen, and Christian Kirk. So first and foremost, pretty fucking solid at wide receiver, my friend.
Yeah, right. I'm fine making this trade. The one thing as much as I love Deontay Johnson, it's not a great passing offense in Pittsburgh. And we know the connection that Kenny Pickett has with George Pickens. Deontay's still going to see his targets. I think the touchdowns are where you're kind of iffy. But with CeeDee Lamb, he's target 1, 2, and 3 in that offense.
Yep.
There's more upside there. For as good as Amari Cooper is and can be, that offense right now is just not consistent enough. I mean, Amari Cooper was a ghost this game, like literal. Like I was talking with one of my other managers at work yesterday, and he's like, dude, did Amari Cooper get hurt? Why does he have no targets? And this was like the third quarter of the game.
He did not catch his first
and
ball.
And they scored 39 points in this game.
Didn't catch his first ball till the fourth quarter with the game on the line.
Yeah, like that's just not great at all. So yeah, I'm fine packaging 2 wide receivers to go get CeeDee Lamb.
My only concern here, and I agree, my only concern here is how many wide receivers can you start? Because
I mean, at that point, but even then, like I would still feel better about having, one great depth piece versus 2 mediocre depth pieces.
Well, and then maybe you turn around and use the name recognition of a Devontae Adams to go get a legit running back.
That's definitely another option, because then you can kind of toggle between Ayuk and Thielen and Kirk and Lamb at that point. So yeah, that's kind of the way that I would work it.
So one thing I always like to praise our listeners. Great question. This is the kind of move you're looking to make to set yourself up for a championship. Look for those 2-for-1s that are going to cause the upgrade. And I'll tell you right now, if you need running back help, unless you already have him, and this is why you need running back help, go attack the Bijan Robinson manager. I'm telling you, he might be willing to make some moves. I think it'll be working out real nice for you. The namesake of this show, the dud that was just a blip on the schedule. When is it time to chill the fuck out? They're not that good. They're not that bad. Josh, go into it.
I'm going to start with Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He was wide receiver 14 on the week, and everybody's kind of been waiting for him to break out, right? He was the hotshot rookie. He was the best wide receiver in this class. He's been awfully quiet this season, catches his first touchdown pass. The problem is they run so much with 2 wide receivers that JSN gets pushed to the side because you have DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, you have 2 pretty solid running backs. You have, they work a lot with, 12 personnel, 21 personnel.
They love bringing all of their tight ends.
And they will play all of their freaking tight ends. They rotate them in and out. Noah Fant, Colby Parkinson, Will Dissly. Like, they rotate a lot of their weapons, and JSN just kind of gets pushed to the side. That's why I wasn't as high on him this year.
Not to mention, Jake Bobo is out here making some plays.
Right? Dude is balling, man. I love it. Especially for, I think he was I don't want to say small school kid, but he got picked on a bit at the combine because he ran like a 4.9 40 or something.
Yeah,
Number
he did
like that.
Nothing that would indicate quick success in the NFL. And obviously,
but
success is a little bit of a stretch here.
Yeah. So DK was kind of a surprise inactive. I know he was questionable leading up to the week. Hip injury, I believe, is what it was from last week. So the moment that he was ruled out, it's like, all right, hey, if you got JSN, put him in the lineup. This is exactly what happened. Scores a touchdown, wide receiver 14. He gets replaced really quickly once DK comes back. So I think react to this.
So this is one of those things where it's like real nice to see that he had a good game, but then you also have to question how good could the game have been. The stories coming into the week were that Arizona's starting slot corner was out, and so was their backup slot corner. JSN was supposed to fucking feast. And so when you look at 4 catches for 63 and a touchdown, disappointment.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so that's been a rough one. And then Josh, no one's slamming the panic button on Raheem Mostert, right?
Yeah, no. This, like I said, the Eagles have a great defense. I said this at the top of the show. The second best run defense heading into the league, or heading into this week, and just completely bottled up not only Mostert but the entire Dolphins offense. Career lows across the board, or season lows, excuse me. And this was actually in 24 games that Mike McDaniel has been a head coach and the lead play caller for the Dolphins. This was the fewest first downs ever. The fewest points scored on offense ever. They only scored 10 points on offense because 7 came on the Jerome Baker.
On that insane pick 6.
Yeah. Like, for as hot as this offense was, nothing. So yeah, pump the brakes on Mostert. He's going to be fine. Don't panic. The better days ahead.
Oh man, I wish you were here earlier, Daltonics. Because yes, Arthur Smith can go fuck himself. That is kind of what we've been saying this entire show. When did Bijan get sick? Because I firmly believe, conspiracy theory, put on the tinfoil hat, he was not sick. He was benched, and I want to know what the hell was going on there. And then Citizen, we touched on this one too. Yeah. I don't know what to make of Austin Ekeler. The focus of this show is when it's time to panic and when it's time to chill the fuck out. I'm stuck right in the middle with Austin Ekeler, and I'm much closer to panic. So I guess I'm not stuck in the middle. So
it's like 60-40 panic.
It's probably closer to 70-30. So I'm not ready to throw him in a category yet, but he has screwed a lot of people, and not knowing what his role in the offense is what the big problem is. And I don't think we even need to pray for you, buddy. Oh wait, you're going against CMC and Moody. Oh my God, I read this as the wrong way. I thought you had CMC and Moody to go.
Well, look, the plus side here is that the Niners defense could very easily get 14 plus.
Yeah.
Right? Because Minnesota is meh. Moody missed a couple kicks last week. Maybe the confidence is waning. If he ends up losing points for missed kicks, that could be a thing. CMC is dealing with that oblique injury. He's been questionable, and they're basically calling him a game time decision. Maybe you luck out and he's a late scratch.
Well, let's not even call it a late scratch.
Stranger things have happened.
I think it's almost, this is going to sound real fucking weird. I think it might be better for managers if he's not a late scratch and he got to it, if he's on a snap count. Because if he's a late scratch, that other manager likely has Eli Mitchell or Jordan Mason if they play fantasy football right. If you get him in the game, and then let's say the 49ers are up 21-0 at halftime, you may not see CMC the rest of the game. So I think it's better if he plays for the folks that are praying for the miracle. And I'll tell you what, I actually have Moody and CMC on my team, but my buddy is not only up by 12, he's losing by quite a bit. So I will actually hope that you win and that my guys have a terrible game tonight because I don't need them to win. So I hope it works out well for you, buddy. For me, I'm just going to tell folks, do not panic on the Detroit Lions. It was bad. It was very bad. I watched that game as someone who started the Detroit Lions defense in many leagues in utter dismay of what I was seeing. But Jared Goff on the road is clearly still a problem. Once he gets back home, you're going to be fine. The pass rush could not get to Lamar. If you watched this game again, and I'm not trying to like hurt people who didn't watch the game, but if you watched this game, that pass rush was really fucking good. Lamar made them look silly. Absolutely silly on the Aguilar touchdown, but on multiple other plays. Human joystick silly. It looked real bad. Aiden Hutchinson was 3 plays away from having one of the better games he's ever had in his career and just could not make the plays. This is a 1-32 team problem. You don't got to play Lamar Jackson every week. Jahmyr Gibbs finally looked good. Amon-Ra St. Brown truly is the sun god with 18, 19 targets this week, something like that. This team desperately needs a wide receiver too, and I would love to see them active at the trade deadline. Trade deadline's Halloween this year. If they could acquire a wide receiver too, and I really, truly hope they're looking, I think that could fix a lot of the problems the Detroit Lions have right now.
I think they're just hoping that Jameson Williams gets up to speed. They traded an extra first-round pick to go get him. Like, I mean, they have faith in him, but he's not really doing much to return the favor at this point.
6 targets, no catches against Baltimore. That's an issue. You want to see out of him at minimum what we're seeing from Jalin Hyatt is fucking 75 yards on 2 catches. That's what he was brought in for, and that is not what you're getting. You're getting that once a season. That can't be your legacy as a first-round top 10 overall pick. We're going to finish the show up with deep waivers from our guy, Mark, Drunken Dynasty on Twitter. He wasn't able to make it to the show today, wasn't in the chat, but he did give us his picks. Gardner Minshew, 96% available right now, 15 of 23, 305 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a beautiful run, which was awesome to watch with a little shimmy at the end there. It was a big game for him against the Browns, against a very good defense. And then obviously the Browns defense just held the 49ers in check last week. So maybe it's time to believe in that Minshew magic once again. He did say he wants to hand the game ball over to the officials for giving the Browns the win at the end there. He had to move one of his players, though. I kept him in. So I added Michael Wilson, 90% available. He has 1 fewer target than Rondale Moore on the season, but 20 more fantasy points. He's still very hit or miss, but we could see tremendous improvement out of Michael Wilson once Kyler Murray comes back, and I do believe he comes back. Now, obviously, when you're looking at deep waivers, you're going to make some moves on some questionable running backs. Well, Josh and I don't necessarily believe in Darrell Henderson. For the next 3 weeks, he is the starter, and you don't ignore starting running backs. Freeman, he said, doesn't qualify because everybody went and got Freeman. Henderson was kind of the guy that popped up late in the week because everybody went out and got that rookie, Josh, whose name
Zack Evans.
Right now. Zack Evans. And then everybody started pivoting from Evans to Freeman, but nobody pivoted all the way to Henderson because he was still on the practice squad until yesterday. So for a team bringing in 3 backs off the streets, there might be something in this backfield. I couldn't disagree with this more, but he had to get somebody for the old guy corner. Julio Jones, 90% available. What do you say? 1 catch for 3 yards? Is that the stat line here? He said
it was very weird seeing him with number 80. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, that threw me off as well. Then he writes, why in the world are 10% of ESPN leagues rostering Julio? So he obviously went back on himself here. But he had Tyson Bagent, and he even said it was a joke. I actually moved it to his dynasty corner as a super flex. He was probably out there in a few leagues. Go look at this kid in any sort of super flex league. It is not unheard of for a unknown rookie quarterback to come in and take the job from a top 5 pick. San Francisco 49ers fans can tell you that. I'm not saying it's happening. This kid has some swag. I like what we're seeing out of him. Shout out to Mark, who is a Bears fan and just wanted to get Teabag on the show so that he could talk up his Bears. But he also threw Jake Bobo in here. Jake Bobo is an undrafted rookie coming out of UCLA who has outperformed what anybody could have possibly expected him. Scored his 2nd touchdown of the season this week. So if you're desperate at these positions, these are the guys you could be looking for, though. Like I said, I think Mark was having a little fun with it this week. Josh, we got our Monday night preview and prediction. The 49ers at the Vikings. 49ers are 7-point favorites, and the line on this game is 43.5. What do you see happening here?
The 43.5 might be struggle bus if CMC is on a snap count. Brock Purdy looked human last week without weapons. And that's kind of in my opinion.
Debo
So
already
that's
out.
why, the under on the 43.5 feels shaky. That's kind of where I would go with that. But I think the 49ers cover the spread pretty.
Yeah, I think the 49ers win, and I'm a little shaky on the under as well. I just don't know how much. I'm worried we see 17-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And then just coasting after that. I gotta give Joel busted my balls a little bit where I said Bijan looked good. He beat the Raiders. That's 100% true.
But you know what though? Confidence.
Exactly.
That's what happens. Confidence.
Yeah, and we all bitched that Brock Purdy hadn't beat anybody either. So it's working out pretty well for him right now. Ooh, Joel, who used to write the betting article, says back-to-back travel games for the Niners. Take the points. Thinks Minnesota's going to be able to keep it a game. And then Caesar says the DeMarcado experience was wild. I was going to bitch about that backfield. I just didn't care enough about it. But we really thought we were going to see Keontae Ingram take over after 1 week, and then they just shipped it right back. And then Damian Williams acts as the primary backup. I don't know if Keontae Ingram was hurt.
Practice squad guy.
Yeah, so...
Well, Ingram's been dealing with some injuries. I don't know if it flared up this week or not, but...
Oddly, the Keontae Ingram manager is not as mad as the Bijan Robinson managers. I don't know what's going on there.
Not at all.
Folks, thank you to everybody who tuned in. Thank you for all of your questions. Follow Club Fantasy FFL, or follow Club Fantasy at Club Fantasy FFL. Check out the website, clubfantasyffl.com. We do articles every single day of the week. You're going to have my waiver article tomorrow. We have 3 different DFS articles that come out, wide receivers versus corners. If you're looking for it, we have you covered from all angles of fantasy. But way more importantly, hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. It costs you nothing. It means the world to us, and we go live so much. We are literally here, I think, almost every single day of the week at this point. So
feels like it, yeah.
We have Dynasty shows. We have DFS shows. We have our weekly recap show that you're watching right now. We have our flagship show every Wednesday where we do a preview of the week with Joe Zolo. There's a lot of great content, and we appreciate every single one of you. And we answer every question, as you've seen on today's show, as you will see on our Wednesday show. And not only that, we have a Saturday show that is literally devoted to your questions. That's all we do. We are here to help you guys get better at fantasy football. I hope your Monday miracles come true. For Josh Hudson, I'm Ryan Weisse. Follow Club Fantasy FFL. Make sure you hit subscribe on YouTube. Have a great Monday, everybody.